Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So this is officially the end of the off season for me. From spring till now, I've done 7 private goalie sessions, 1 semi-private lesson with my coach. I did a bunch in spring and then the other half kind of like the end of summer. So I felt like now's a good time to talk about my experience as a 42-year-old beer league goalie who all of a sudden decided to take private goalie lessons. So the first question that I always get from either online or from people that I meet, this one's actually from the Chanman001. How much do you feel your game improved overall throughout the summer? So everyone always asks me, who I tell them I'm working with a coach, they always ask, hey, did you get better? Did you get better? I'm actually not going to talk about that in this video particularly. You're going to have to wait for the next one coming up, which I'll talk about that as a whole video on its own. So definitely stay tuned for that one. And of course, the next most common question is, how much does it cost? So for the coach that I work with, it's $70 for just the coach. And then you also have to pay for the ice time. So depending on the time and the season, ice time prices can change. So I can only train in the evenings, which is a higher price point. So if I'm training in the summertime, the ice is $85 an hour versus the fall, which is $115 an hour. So if you add the coaching fee, which is $70 plus either $85 an hour or $115 an hour, you're looking at $155 for the whole session or $185 for the session, depending when you book. And the next question from, again, Chanman001. In your video, you shared the ice with another goalie. Did you share the ice rental costs but paid for the coaches separately? The cost of the coach when you do a semi-private session is usually going to be a bit less. So each of us paid $60 for the coach, and then we split the ice rental cost. Let's just say that we're working in the fall, we're paying $60 plus half of $115. So if you add those two together, so that's about $117 for the semi-private session. All right, so the next question is from Jack Mirren. Do you feel the cost of private training has been worth it to you? So we already broke down the costs. It's definitely not cheap to get private lessons. Hate to break it to you, but goaltending is probably like one of the most expensive positions you can get into. But on the opinion, if I think it's worth it, it really depends on your goals and what you're trying to achieve as a goaltender. I think in general, if you're a goalie who's just trying to get better, but you're practicing day in and day out, but you're just not really seeing the results, this is something that I struggled with for the last few years. I definitely do think it's worth it. And there's kind of like 2 reasons why I thought it was worth it when I first decided to take lessons. The first thing was I always wanted to get better, but I never had any ice time to practice. The only time that I had was the 5 minutes, if I was lucky to get 5 minutes, before a beer league game. And we all know how those go. You usually end up just like stretching for 2 minutes and then taking headshots for the rest of it. That was essentially my practice time. So if I were to pay to work with a coach for an hour, a full hour of dedicated practice time, if we kind of took those numbers, so 5 minutes per beer league game, that's like my practice time. It's going to take 12 beer league games to get 1 hour of practice. So I just kind of thought in terms of numbers, like this doesn't really make any sense, right? I'm not really getting dedicated practice if I'm only spending 5 minutes before each game. And even during those times where I thought I knew what I was doing, most of the time I was like just kind of spinning in circles, like doing backside pushes, trying to do some cool stuff, right? So in that sense, you know, it does cost a lot of money, but in one session, you're getting 12 beer league practice times, if that kind of makes sense. The other reason why I think it's worth the cost is you don't really want to think of these sessions as, you know, you just kind of going through the reps and getting a good workout in. I think what I got most out of these sessions was not even just like the drills, but that feeling of understanding how it felt to train at a high intensity and to actually do movements correctly. Because without someone who's a professional, who's played at a really high level, guiding you down the right steps, there's a really good chance, especially if you're self-taught, that you're doing the movement incorrectly and you just don't know how it feels like to do it properly. So just that understanding and feeling of knowing how it feels to do something properly and having that validated by a professional, I think that's like worth the price of admission, because I don't think you can really like learn those types of things through like Reddit or like watching YouTube clips of other goalies. It's an experience that you have to kind of go through yourself. And kind of going through this process with the coach, it not only changed like how I thought on the ice, but it really kind of opened my eyes onto how hard the position is. You know, even after the first session when I worked with my coach, like the normal workout and practice routines that I had before, I had to kind of like throw those out the window and just rethink everything, because that first session that I had, like, it completely destroyed my ego, destroyed everything that I thought goaltending was, and it really kind of just like changed my mindset, and that mindset really carries over to like your day-to-day as well. Like, it's really allowed me to practice with that same intensity and precision in my own time, which is we're gonna make most of those gains. All right, the next question is from Crease Quest. So his question is, what skill level do you think will get the most out of private coaching sessions? So from what I know, most goalie coaches will work with beginners up to people who are, planning to play pro. So I don't think it really matters what skill level you are when you go into one of these sessions. If anything, I think if you're a newer goalie, you're probably going to benefit more from these, because they're able to make small adjustments to how you play early on, as opposed to someone like me who's been playing for like 20 plus years. There's a lot of like bad habits that I need to unlearn, and it's a little bit harder for an older goalie like myself to adjust to moving properly, if that kind of makes sense. And I think if you're a bit worried that you're not good enough to like go to a coach, well, that's kind of silly, because like that's what a coach is for. If you're taking swimming lessons or guitar lessons, you go to them because you're trying to learn the position. So just for an example, I went to this coach specifically, and I came into it telling him, hey, treat me like a complete noob, teach me the foundation, pretend that I don't know anything about goaltending, kind of go from there. And it's really up to you, if you're working with a coach, to kind of like set up that expectation between yourself and him. And Crease Quest's follow-up question to that is, wouldn't it be better to get the private coach's help with things you don't know versus the things that you know but just don't do very well? So another good question, like, why pay someone to watch you struggle with things that you already know? Like, why don't you just ask them to show you things that you don't know how to do, right? So I think to answer this question the best I can is, the things that you know but don't do very well, you're probably not doing them very well because it's from the little things that you don't know. And that's what the coach is there to help you with. Like, you don't know what you don't know. And that really kind of brings me back to the first topic that I talked about, is just like knowing how it feels to do something properly. Once you actually know how it feels to do a movement correctly, you're able to kind of take that knowledge and then in your own time, work that into your own game, work that into your practice, and really build some good habits as opposed to doing stuff incorrectly. We're going to jump back over to the Chanman001 for the next question. Aside from the skating drill, what would you say your number 2 and number 3 most improved skill or takeaway from these sessions? Another good question. I always talk about skating on this channel, because after that first lesson that I had with him, I knew right then and there I dropped everything, and I was like, I need to work on my skating. And it wasn't me working with him that improved my skating, it was because it just kind of opened my eyes to, hey, I need to start going to public skate, start working out a little bit differently to strengthen my ankles and legs to actually be able to skate, basically. That's what it was. So that was a huge takeaway from just the first lesson that I had with him. If I had to pick something that was number 2 on my list as a key takeaway, that would have to be something, again, another really foundational thing is always look first and then arm second, and then your body will move with it. We always hear this in social media when it comes to goaltending, is to eyes first, arm second, and then the body will follow. Really easy to say, but to do in practice. If you actually haven't taken the time to slowly do this precisely for reps, you probably are twisting your lower body first, kind of like what I was doing. Because most likely in a game situation, you're kind of just trying to get your body out there as fast as you can. When you're in a controlled situation, you're able to kind of like move your eyes first, and then your torso, and then your legs will follow. Being able to do that slowly and precisely works wonders. And to give you an example for that, here's one drill that I was kind of doing a little bit too fast. So the coach was like, hey man, just slow it down, use your eyes first, and then everything else will follow. So I just kind of took a step back, and I just literally just broke it down step by step. And after I started doing that, my reps got and felt a little bit cleaner. This is something that I'm still trying to work into my game. Again, a really simple concept, but very, very important. We hear it all the time. It's actually very important, and really important to practice as well too. And then number 3 thing that I have to pick, again, it's another simple thing, is just getting your shoulders square to the puck, not the person. So this is something that I've been doing over the summer, where I've been squaring up to the player and not the puck itself. This is actually really important when you're doing that backside push that everyone's been asking about, is to get your shoulders, well, get your head and then get your shoulders square to that puck, and then everything will actually naturally follow. When you're in a game situation, again, you might not think about squaring up that shoulder to the puck because everything's kind of just moving so fast. So when you're in a controlled environment, like a goalie coaching situation, you're able to kind of just like move your shoulders into the right spot. In the follow-up video to this one, I'll show some areas where I'm not doing that and I get beat pretty cleanly through some recent scrimmages that I've played. So this is something that I'm definitely working on. So, you know, we had to pick the top three: skating, eyes, lead, and then squaring up your shoulders to the puck, not the shooter. So those are the top three things I had to pick that I learned from these sessions. Last question is from Timothy Smith 83. Any advice for a 67-year-old goalie who can't figure out how to butterfly slide? When I try, I'm stuck in the mud. So I'm assuming the butterfly slide, you're talking about being on your knees and trying to like slide around. So we usually typically call this backside push. So again, this is, you know, I had a whole video dedicated to this topic. It's something that took me a long time to actually figure out and learn. Some things that I didn't put in that video and some things that my coach didn't talk about in the training video that we had recently was you can add some slide or gliding material to your pad to just kind of like help you out. So I used to use a glide spray from Passau. Sorry, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but that's just like a glide spray that I used to put on the inside of my pads, and that made me like really slide really fast. But I'm also going to link to this other guy's channel. His name is Chris V10. So I think like years ago he posted this video on doing this backside push. It's just like a dude on a frozen lake or something like that, and he's just like going through the motions and just super casual talking about how to do it. I actually learned a lot from that video, and a lot of his techniques are in the one that I did as well too. So maybe kind of give that one a look and see how that goes. But, you know, just kind of keep working on it. But I think, you know, one thing that I think a lot of people miss, and this is what I miss, is again, once he's turning that shoulder and then trying to do that backside push, that actually helps a lot. That was like the last part of the puzzle that I didn't understand. Until I started to actually rotate my shoulders to where I wanted to go, it made it a lot easier to slide across. So that's all the questions that I've had from all the viewers out there. Thanks for all of you for kind of like watching me progress through this whole training thing from March till now. It's been quite the journey. So I do have one semi-private session coming up pretty soon. I'm not sure if we're going to record that one, but I'll definitely try to talk about it if we can. So that's it for all the questions online. I mean, I could talk about goalie training for hours because it's like such a huge topic. But thank you so much for the questions. Again, huge shout out to Chanman001. Check out his YouTube page. He's got some awesome goalie review stuff. Jack Mirren, awesome guy. Got some really cool beer league footage. Moves skates really, really well. Like, I'm kind of jealous how smooth he shuffles all the time. Of course, my buddy Crease Quest. He's a newer goalie who's starting to film himself play and just trying to learn things as he goes. So definitely check out his channel as well too. And of course, Timothy, for your question about the butterfly slides. I hope that kind of works out for you. Stay tuned for the next video. We're going to talk about basically, hey, did all this summer training, working with a coach, you know, training properly and things like that, did it actually help? Like the other big question. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I know this is like another longer video. I hope this answers some of your questions about working with a coach. If you have some more questions, feel free to put them in the comments below. I read every single comment and I will do my best to give you a good answer when it comes to goalie coaching. Anyways, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.